So just went to the beach this weekend up in Long Island. Jake, our producer, I was at Mount Sinai-ish area. I don't know how close it is to Jericho, and kind of that your neck of the woods. But long story short, I was on a beach and it wasn't. I like the ocean. I love being in the water. I love swimming in the ocean, body surfing, all that stuff. But the one thing I hate about the beach is the sand, and I never have a good countermeasure for when I come home from the beach and I do laundry. Like, how do I not get the sand all over my other clothes that's on the clothes that are sandy from the beach? And I have no idea how to do it. And every time I make the same mistake, and I need to start maybe prepping ahead, of, I don't know, bringing some sort of trash bag to just put the sandy clothes in and then wash them separately. That seems like a waste because it's usually only like a bathing suit and a towel, like maybe a shirt that has sand on it. So why would I do a whole load of wash for just three things? I don't know, but I feel like I need some sort of prepping plan. I don't know what you guys do. Brian, I know you're down there in Louisiana. Eric, your beaches are really more probably rocky up there, right, in Minnesota. Um,
Rocky?
I don't know.
You've never been in Minnesota, have you?
Never in my life.
Yeah, no, it's just like it's flat.
What does that mean?
It's just flat. It's just
Oh,
like
there's sand? I mean, I guess there'd be
no,
sand.
not really. I mean, like it's the land of 10,000 lakes, right?
Yeah.
So like because of glacier, there was a glacier,
Uh-huh.
and everybody out there, I'm no expert, but there was a glacier that like moved through and just left like very fertile soil. So the black dirt is full of sediment and like nutrients and stuff. That's why there's a lot of farms in the Midwest, is because of that, that glacier. And so it didn't really leave too many mountains or rocks. There's like a couple of big hills that we ski on,
Big
but outside
hills.
of that, it's flat.
I mean, more for the
It's
sand.
absolutely
Like your beaches, I thought your beaches had rocks on them instead of a lot like more.
maybe, I guess like in Superior there's rocks.
Yeah.
It's not really like, I mean, otherwise it's like, man, like I feel like they brought in the sand, but I could be wrong.
I feel like the
Like
best.
it's very,
It's Great Lake. It's great. It's
yeah.
Lake Erie because it's in PA.
I thought the Superior Lake was Superior.
Funny. I don't know about that one. Can you name all five of them?
Oh God, Erie, is it Huron, Superior, Michigan?
There's one more that I don't
Which
think I know even.
which one am I missing?
Ontario,
Yes, I believe.
Superior, Michigan, Huron, like you said, Erie, and Ontario. Yeah, that's correct.
Yep, we nailed it.
did.
We
We
got
did.
there. It only took two men,
Yeah. Thanks for nothing,
You know,
Brian.
but like
I do too. I don't
Baton
know.
Rouge. You got
It's
Mardi
like
Gras. I'm trying to think of Louisiana things now to talk about, but
it's like the second graders. Like, what is that show?
are you
I've
smarter
never
than a fifth
watched it,
grader?
but yeah. They can
I
definitely
think
beat
the
us
fifth
on that
graders
stuff.
could beat us, I think.
Yeah.
But the whole point of this is because I do the same thing every year when I go to the beach, and I don't plan ahead. I don't prep because I don't know what to even prep for, really, aside from just how to not get sand on my clothes, which seems seemingly impossible. And to make a cheesy segue into our topic today, Amazon Prime deal days, whether it's Amazon Prime Day or Amazon Big Deals Day, are things that happen pretty much every year. Prime Day's been around for a while now, and I feel like some people don't have a good plan when it comes to sending in products, staying on top of the coupons they can run and how much inventory they should really prepare, and really just a general forecasting logistics side of things. I feel like I see a lot of issues across some people on LinkedIn saying, oh, Prime Day was great. I sold out of all my inventory. You shouldn't be doing that, people on LinkedIn. And so today I brought in my two logistics experts, and Eric, to talk about how to prep for these big shopping days of the year, because there's a lot of them, and there's not often it seems to me there's not often a really laid out plan for what you can do to really be prepared for this, to make sure that you get no sand on your clothes, or in Amazon's case, to make sure you do not get any out of stock issues or miss any opportunities following these big events because you sold out of all your inventory. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about this. Again, seems not underrated, but undervalued, important topic. Eric, what are we seeing from this recent Prime Day that, you can talk about for this topic and seeing it just in terms of logistics and people maybe not being so prepared? Of course, not on our end, but in general, how are people not being prepared for these type of holidays?
Yeah, good question. So a couple of things you always want to plan ahead. The number one thing here is going to be planning ahead. The hardest thing that you're going to be running into here is going to just be having enough inventory to be hit with Prime Day. Then you're going to get hit again in October, and then immediately you're going to be hit again in November. So the October and November time is going to be more difficult than prepping for the July Prime Day, because you have like 5-6 months to prepare for the July Prime Day. But once we get into October, if you crush it on big deal days, which is historically going to be running, but in the middle of October, I think last year it was the 11th and the
12th.
12th of October.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's right.
So yeah, so you're right there with that for 2 days. Then almost 30 days later, you're on Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And last year they went from Monday to Monday, and the years prior it was only 4 days. I think it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Now it's Monday to Monday. So that's 7 days of your stuff on sale. So with all of that in mind, you need to be thinking, okay, how many units do I think I'm going to sell? How many units do I have for backup? How many units, like you want to have a best case, worst case, and most likely scenario. And the thing about it is, if you have the cash flow, I highly recommend that you get more inventory in-house at your warehouse or your 3PL or whatever, because the worst thing that you want to do is sell out. If you sell out and you got to get your order in, you got Chinese New Year coming in here in January 29th. So if you sell out, you're going to miss fourth quarter. You just are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then you're going to be up against it on everybody else trying to get their orders in after that. So the best thing is plan ahead, make sure that you have enough inventory, and then also make sure that you have enough inventory in production to replenish the loss of supply before the Chinese New Year. I don't know, Brian, if you have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, and that's, my big thing too is planning. And so you're planning now in preparation for something that's not happening till October, November. And I think we're always kind of in the immediate, what's gaining the most attention, the squeaky wheel right now, and not looking ahead of what could cause the wheel to squeak. And so right now you're planning to bring inventory into Amazon, to prepare in October for Prime. But at the same time, you should have kickstarted your supply chain in June, that you would have available inventory now. And, Amazon's either a genius or they're just causing more complexity and problems by having a Prime Day right before Black Friday. So kind of this idea that, hey, we're going to have these back-to-back sales, it causes problems. Even when they started it out, it caused a problem. So
I feel like it could be in, March. Maybe we'll talk about, but the timeline could be a little, I think, spread out.
My guess is Amazon was like, what are our two lowest sales days or sales months a year? And it's October and July. That's my guess. I have no idea. I actually never looked into why they picked it. That's most likely it. I don't know. But let's kind of explore that a little bit, Brian. So you're saying we should be prepared we should be preparing in June for October, and maybe even before then, maybe. What are your thoughts there?
And it depends on how you're expecting your Prime Day to go, because some people will just what they did the previous year. Now, if your expectation is to do more, have you planned for that? Are you using percentages? Are you looking at a capacity model? How are you making your plans for that October and November and into December sales that are going to happen? And so some can make on demand, but most people are coming from China, and every year we have it where they're waiting for their shipment to show up from China, and it's a scramble drill to get it in there in time, and we all cross our fingers that it's going to land and make it through customs and get the approvals and the transportation that's needed. And kind of when you're in that moment, you hope for the best. That's just pretty much where you're at. And the further up you can plan and the more mature you can be in your supply chain model to know the rhythms of what it's going to take and have those triggers that point you to start planning my supply plan in June, start looking at August of what we're going to send into Amazon in now August and things like that. I know that the date is, October, but it's always better to be safe than sorry type of thing, because there will be slowdowns. It's always on West Coast fulfillment centers that they are slower about receiving specifically pallets, which are bigger units, which are going to be your bigger orders, which are going to bump your supply levels at what you're wanting to be at, because you're sending pallets at a time to beef up your inventory going into those holidays. And they always experience slow times. And
Say-
it's across the board, but I've just noticed definitely this year, it's always been those West Coast fulfillment centers that Amazon it's logical. If it's coming from overseas, it's going to land West Coast, and it's going to clog up those fulfillment centers as people are sending in replenishment orders with pallets or containers.
Anything, yeah.
Soft.
And I know historically, like last year, there was a big shipping or container problem, and there's been historic container problems in the past, couple of years, very recently, that have affected, I know, a lot of people in terms of getting, like you said, getting product from overseas in China to these West Coast places. So it's historically something that you need to prepare for, because if you don't, it'll hurt big time. So I'm with you there. And I know I used to work at a grocery store, for all my fellow any grocery store employees out there. And my manager would always say it's so much easier to buy for Thanksgiving than it is for Christmas, because when you buy for Thanksgiving, anything you have left over can just be saved until Christmas. But if you have to do an order in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, it's hell, because then anything you get left over, people aren't shopping as crazy and as much as they are in that holiday time frame. So it's like annoying for him. It would be annoying for him to have to, so like that. This time frame it's interesting because there's so much volume being moved around on Amazon, and it feels very hard for. I feel like some people to just really get an idea of how much they really do need. So.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. So like we have there's kind of three things happening in this. You have new products that you want to sell that aren't even on Amazon yet. Okay. Second one is going to just be seasonal products. We should talk about that a little bit, because just like if you're selling Christmas lights, if you're selling Christmas trees, or you're selling Hanukkah, like all of those like seasonal things. Or Hanukkah things, sorry, not Hanukkah, selling Hanukkahs.
A menorah,
Menorah, yeah.
Dreidel.
Yep, dreidel, yep, exactly. So if you have those different, like just different holidays stuff, or maybe you're selling Halloween things, or cornucopias, whatever you
Love the Thanksgiving
selling, right?
shout out. I think Thanksgiving gets very overlooked. People should not be playing Christmas music the day after Halloween. We'll get into that in another episode maybe, but keep going, please.
And then the third thing is just like you're established and stuff, and how can I move forward?
Mm-hmm.
So like we can kind of cover this, one at each item. So like for your information, like if you have an item that is, you just created the listing, let's say you just created the listing today, or with it, like whatever, Amazon is cracking down a bit on, I believe we kind of talked about this a little bit before, reference pricing.
Yep.
So you're probably not going to be able to mix into these deals because you don't have a reference price. Your reference price is the 60-day sales, which is going to be indexing on Amazon. But if you don't have that, then you're not going to get a slash through. You're not going to get a coupon. You're not going to be eligible for Prime exclusive discounts. You're not going to be eligible for lightning deals because Amazon's not going to pick that item. So your goal here is to get that item moving as fast as you can, as fast as you can to get that pricing index. But you're most likely, to be realistic, you're probably not going to be able to participate in the deals. So with that being said, you're probably not going to have too big of a problem stocking out or getting inventory in, just because you have no reviews.
Mm-hmm.
You got, you have all kinds of stuff. With all that being said, I'm not saying that to hurt your feelings or get you upset or anything. I just wanted you to get your expectations managed.
It's gonna happen. Yeah.
Yep. And so, like if you do get some of that stuff and then you start getting, the nice thing is you have October, and then you have, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then fourth quarter kind of extended holiday, you might have a chance to get those new items into some sort of deal. Second thing is, seasonal products. Seasonal products are hard. You have to you just have to nail it. And you're only going to be able to nail it with a guy like Brian, or you're going to have to nail it with your own, your own empirical data on your website or whatever, right? Because the last thing that you want to do is send 50 Christmas trees in. You sell 5, you have 45 Christmas trees that you got to do a removal order or something. Hopefully you sell more than that. But I've seen it in the past where somebody sent in way too many units that are seasonal and they get stuck there. And then you have to make that choice. Do you heavily discount in January to move those products to get them out of the system so you're not getting excess inventory? Or do you, remove them and keep them till next year? So you really have to like just hit that perfectly. And then going back to like, if you're already an established seller, you should already have a historical data.
Yep.
And you should be able to project ahead like Brian was speaking about earlier. And then with that, just be like, hey, what am I going to do? Am I going to do 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%? What does that discount look like? And it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. The bigger the discount, the more units you're most likely going to sell.
Sure.
So be mindful of that as well. So I'm going to pass it over to Brian. Did you have anything to add to like those 3 things?
Yes. And a part of it too is understanding that it's not one person who can come up with really this forecast. Now in supply chain, the term is SNOP. It stands for sales and operation. And that's bringing in the team as a collective body of people to go, hey, sales is thinking this, operations is thinking this. But then, also understanding is what are the other, effects that can be for the sales coming up. And you were talking about seasonal stuff. Gift boxes are the same thing. Typically they're going to do a gift set. They're going to have some kind of insert that's Christmas focused and things like that. And it's a new product. And so we're all kind of what's going to happen. But the beauty of something like an SNOP meeting, or in our case, it's making sure that each of our areas are kind of signed off on it to go, yes, we think this is what the outcome is going to be, this many units or however that looks, or up the percentage, 25%, because that's our expectations across the board, and getting everyone bought in on that number for at the very least, it just doesn't put it on one person to, I'm just coming up with the best answer I can think of, but everybody's in the end signing off on that to go, yes, as a team, we are saying this, and bringing everyone's input to really create that outcome that at the very least everyone signed off on and has, given their chance to speak in, so that in the end, it's a team of we beat it, or we fell short, and we've got to learn from this, because those new SKUs that are gift sets, and even if they're launching new products or things that you don't even have historical to, those are tough. And either you shoot too high and you're talking about removals, and then we all go, well, that's, we think it's better to do that than to not reach sales goals, and that type of how we want the result to end. It's all an approach. There's nothing wrong with it, but in the end, it's at least having intelligence behind what your forecast is, because forecast is data. If you have enough historical data, then you're talking about confidence intervals and all these different pieces that help you go, man, I feel really good about this. But when you don't have enough data points, then it is about the team coming together to say, yes, this is what we all think is going to happen. Let's do that, and hope that we're right in our thoughts.
Yeah.
Here's
I got a thought on that too. So like, okay, so gift boxes, right? We're gonna do like a beautiful, maybe you're selling hot sauces. Everybody buys their uncle like a pack of variety hot sauce. They
love it.
Basically, people that you don't know anything about, you just go, you know what, that guy looks like a hot sauce guy. I'm just gonna buy this guy hot sauce because I don't know this person at all. He's my family, but I don't know. I don't make an effort. Anyway, so
like calling those people out there, because that's something. Is this something we have to talk about?
Doesn't like hot sauce, right?
I'm not a spicy guy, but my uncles do like hot sauce. I will not, unless they lie to me about.
Or maybe they don't.
Or maybe they don't.
Are you sure? Do you even know them? Okay, so
who are they?
Who are they? Okay, so let's say we're doing a hot sauce thing, or we're doing I don't know, like a candy thing, whatever you want to picture in your mind. you got to remember too, if you're going to try to move these, just like Brian said, they're brand new listings, they're brand new products. We don't have any reviews, we don't have any sales, we have nothing on there. So what's the strategy to get things moving? Vine, right? So Vine, you have to now project in your mind, how many Vine units am I going to do? When should I do it? Should I set it up in August? Vine will run for 90 days. So if you get your holiday bundle or whatever into Vine in August, hopefully you'll get some reviews. Hopefully those reviews will maybe turn. It's going to be a little bit tricky, especially if you're like a holiday, like really very December based holiday bundle. You're probably not going to be able to move a lot, but it's better than waiting till the last minute because, and Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, it's slipping my mind, so I'm not even going to guess. Can you tell me when the cutoff time for receiving is for big deal days? Do we have that? We have that data, right? Or that time? Or I'm putting you on the spot?
You are, and I saw the date and I acknowledged the date.
I did the same thing. All right, let me see if I can find it quick. Hold, please. Talk amongst yourselves, everybody. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. So we have September 13th for big deal days, and then we have October 19th for your Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
And that is the cutoff for, one more time,
inventory needs to be received at Amazon's warehouse. You can't ship by. You have to have it shipped by, what would you call on September 13th, Brian? Like Labor Day? Ship it by Labor Day?
Please. That's what I was talking about with those pallets, is that some of those took longer than what are normal. So now you exceeded that date, and it's tough. Like the earlier the better. But
yep.
Yes.
I mean, everybody should start shipping now.
Yeah.
You got to be on top of that. And like we said, you just got to, you send it in. There's to use that grocery store model, you send it in now, right? Let's say maybe you don't sell through every single item that you wanted to, or maybe you don't have as many sales as you wanted to on Prime Big Deals Day. You've got a month later, you've got Cyber Monday and Black Friday, that as long as you're not incurring any long-term storage fees, that product can be used there. So something else to like just really, there's the overflow for Prime Big Deals Day doesn't seem as serious as, Eric, like you mentioned, where if you send in the 50 Christmas trees, maybe you send them in for Prime Big Deals Day, right? And people are buying them early. I know I have all my Christmas shopping done by Black Friday at least, or maybe even this year, maybe by Prime Big Deals Day. You send it in early there, and then even if you don't sell through all 50 units, now you've got Black Friday, Christmas shopping, all that stuff to really kind of make up for the extra 45 or so, right? So
yeah, you want to come into October pretty hot, right? And then like ramp it down, or you can go into it less hot and then ramp it up. You can do either strategy just to make sure that so like if you go in hot, then you can just kind of pull back, so that way, like you got to kind of watch your inventory and stuff. So like, but if you go in slow, let's say you do 20% for big deal days in October, and then Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you go into 25% off. And then you still have 200 units. You have up until probably December 22nd, probably more realistically December 20th. So you can start even going even heavier, like now 30%, getting closer to Christmas, 40%. You just want to try to move that stuff out and just got to make sure that you have your margin, you're watching that margin. But that's more or less for seasonality, like seasonal products, where like the gift bundles and stuff, because you don't really want to be stuck with your Christmas or seasonal hot sauces for the rest of the year. So you got to be mindful of that. So like, but kind of going back to like Vine though, just got to remember, like, what's your Vine strategy? You're going to go 30 units. So like, if you're only going to make 60 units of your holiday bundles, then does it make sense to go for 30 units of Vine? Because now you're cutting your inventory by 50% just on one promotion. So if it goes really well, good for you. And then, but you don't have enough inventory to maintain, and now you have to wait a whole another 365 days for it to participate in that, that success, right? So then if you're going to go with 100 units, 30 go to Vine, now you only have 7 units. So it's really, what it really comes down to is just like what Brian said at the beginning, always plan ahead.
Yeah. The tough part about this strategy we have of like setting a bunch in, because we've got this sell and that sell is Amazon knows this. So in fourth quarter, you get a little bit bump in your storage costs. So you're going to jump 3 times the amount of what it is in September to October, November, and December. So they kind of cash in on that. And it's probably, their idea to make sure you've got, the right amount in there and that type of thing too. But that's also the risk that you take and say, all right now I'm going to send in a bunch of inventory to cover what's going to happen in October, November, and December, but you're going to pay the price in the storage cost per cubic foot of that also. So it's not just a freebie, like, just keep it there just in case. And we know coming out of the holidays, people aren't buying a bunch of stuff in January. So you kind of get stuck at that point, but you're going to pay a premium for that storage too.
Yeah, that's the other thing too I wanted to get into, Eric, before I know you have a thought, but I definitely want to talk later after this about, in the episode about like the different storage costs for quarter 4 compared to the rest of the year. But Eric, you were saying?
I was just going to say, hey, Brian, what do you think about a strategy where you're like, you know what? I'm not really sure. So I'm going to do 60 units of my bundle. I'm going to send 60 units. Like I'm still stuck on the seasonality thing. So I'm going to send 60 units. This is universal. It doesn't have to necessarily be just the seasonality stuff, but it's just an easier concept to grasp here. But if I have 60 units for my bundle, I'm going to do 30 in Vine. So now I have 30 left in FBA. But I've made an FBM SKU, or I'm going to flip my SKU to FBM. So that way I don't run the risk of stocking out. Is that a good, of like having stuff stuck at FBA? I misspoke there. So Brian, is that a good idea, or is that not a good idea?
So you're saying I'm going to send some in, but then I'm going to flip it FBM.
Yeah, when I run out.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely FBM is better than no FB anything. So, I think it's definitely an approach to, and then some of that piece comes in too, is that, capacities. And this wasn't a major problem last year as it has been in the past. Ever since COVID, Amazon just got really strict on what they're going to allow you to send in. So even though you're ahead of schedule, you've got it all planned out. And it won't be so much if you're planning right now, but once you build up to those holidays, they're going to restrict what you can send in. And they do offer the opportunity for you to purchase capacity if you think, yes, I am absolutely going to sell. And then if you, in fact, do meet certain goals or requirements, then Amazon will not charge you for the capacity that you've requested and paid for. So it allows you that avenue if you're just thinking, absolutely, this is going to be it. But it's overall, it's keeping slow movers from taking precious Amazon fulfillment space, but that's something you can run against up to now. Last year, it wasn't as significant as it was in the previous years. So that may not be as a major deal as it come now. Always hazmat material, things that are a little bit more restrictions on what you can send in are always going to be a difficult one. And those are ones that are probably more strategic to be FBM. But standard size wasn't as big of a deal. I didn't notice it as much on oversized, but majority of my clients, the people that we work with are standard. So I know for sure that wasn't as significant as it has been in the past, but that's always a hurdle too, that as much as you can play in and try to get ahead of things, that you can meet the wall that's capacity, that it won't allow you to send any more in.
Yeah, but let's also talk. Like, I'm gonna jump in here too, like FBM capacity too, right? So like if you're a small warehouse, small company, maybe you got like 6 employees. I don't know, just throwing a number out there, right? Maybe you got only 3 people in the warehouse. What is their capacity? So like if you have suddenly a hit on your hands, how many units can your warehouse realistically send in? So like, if you're like, you know what, I don't want to even mess with this FBA nonsense, I'm only going to do FBM, but you only have 2 warehouse people, how, like, you got to kind of calculate that into your costs and into your profitability as well. Because like I believe you can set capacity for FBM in Amazon, right? Brian, like at the back end, I believe you can say, I can only do 50 orders a day, and then they'll stop taking your orders. If that's the case, that is going to impact your account, or because somebody else is going to get your sale. So like if you hit capacity by noon, people still are shopping, people still want that product, they're going to go to your competitor. So you got to kind of think of that too. So you can't just be like, okay, my strategy is going to be FBM. Like there's a lot to that as well. Maybe you need to scale up for the holidays. Maybe hire extra set of hands. Maybe you
Seasonal
do need to
employee,
lean in. Yeah, a seasonal employee. Maybe you do really need to get in there and get into FBA and start planning ahead. Planning ahead is hard, right? So the easy way is to be like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go FBM. But FBM also has its own problems, right? So if you can't fulfill those orders, they're going to get fulfilled by your competitor.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you're getting in what I love doing as far as the lean and capacity models and things like that, is you kind of got to know, hey, once we get above this threshold, like we need to bring somebody else in. We need to bring, cousin Bob in who likes hot sauce, and we're going to bring him in to help out because we know that we've just met our capacity and what we're capable of doing from our warehouse itself. And so, yeah, definitely that too is you've got to understand FBM, what you're capable of doing. And that can be a problem. And even with replenishment orders is that sometimes you start doing these numbers and you're talking about hundreds of units when you're used to shipping tens of units. And now it's taking 2 months to fulfill an order, and it's just too late at that point. And so that's definitely something you need to have be prepared for too. Start building up things now. And that's, you can, if you Kanban systems, you can look at all kinds of supply chain methods to help you prepare for those, and understanding is what works better for you. A batch order, a single piece flow, like those types of things that I know that it's stuff I love and not everyone does, but start understanding what works for you and what's best for your team so that you can really, because that's the thing is, if they are taking FBM orders, they're probably taking other types of orders from other wholesales or other channels that they have too. So all of those are straining their current capacity model and what their warehouse can do. So you've got to factor that into. You can't just go, I'm just going to look at Amazon when you have all these other wholesalers or however else your other service channels are operating to meet what their demand is also.
And let me also jump on that too, because, okay, so now you're getting orders. You're getting order after order after order. I can't ship it. I don't have enough help. All of a sudden my orders are getting late. Now I'm getting the yellow scary, flag on my Seller Central account. It's like, boom, yellow. Your late shipment rate is, skyrocketing, or all this stuff. Suddenly, if you continuously do that, you're going to lose your featured offer eligibility.
Sure.
And once you lose that, you're dead.
Cooks.
You're dead in the water. You're just floating there, just
bump on a log.
Yep. It's over. So you might think, oh, you know what? Then I'll just move my shipping time. I'm just going to add another shipping day, or I'm going to add another handling time. Well, now you're going to impact your conversion rate. So like all of these things kind of work together. So again, plan ahead.
Yeah. It's just much easier to not, Brian, what did you say? It's much easier to worry about. It's easier to worry about the current squeaky wheel than maybe the whole wheel falling off later down the line. But obviously, I'd rather have a squeaky wheel than no wheel at all. So I think planning ahead is really the moral of the story here. I guarantee that when I say, hey guys, any final thoughts for our viewers? Eric's going to say plan ahead, and we're going to put it on a pillow and send it to him. Maybe, but
that's a good holiday gift.
Yeah, there you go. Could put that on Amazon. Could be my first Amazon item. No, and I know we talked a little bit about it, but I want to get into also, again, what are storage prices looking like for Q4 versus Q1, 2, and 3? Amazon knows that, there's a lot of volume to be made here. There's a lot of, not volume, there's a lot of sales to be made here, a lot more volume coming through their stores. So they know that they can charge that because the poor sellers want to be on Amazon as much as possible. They want to have as many items go through there as possible. So I know Amazon likes to jack those prices up a little bit. It's not much, but when you add it up per item, it can be a lot. So that's something else to worry about too, like not just planning for inventory levels, but also your margins. Taking a look, okay, you have to understand what your storage cost is going to be, what your fulfillment cost is going to be if you use FBA, and factoring that into your maybe your cost analysis plan, or if you're building out, how much you want to discount, factoring those numbers in as well. So, Eric, what do we kind of see on our end, partner-wise, on how we prepare for that?
It's going to be a plan ahead. I don't have those numbers right in front of me, but I do know that removal orders are super expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So what you don't want to do is just shove everything in there. Like, that's not a good strategy at all. Like, if you're like,
Yep.
I just want to make sure I have enough inventory. That's a bad idea, because if you do have to end up having to remove it, it's a huge problem. So like removal order per fee or per unit, if it's under $5 or if it's half pound or under, it's $1.04, like $1.04 per unit. But you already shipped it in, so you already have the cost going in. Now you're pulling it out. Now you have your employee touching it again, and whether that's 30 cents or 50 cents per every time an employee touches it or whatever, that's kind of like an internal thing. But it gets really expensive just having to do those, like the pullback. So like, that is not a good strategy at all. But maybe Brian has more insight on those exact numbers.
Yeah, and it does go up 3x when you're getting into Q4. And so, yeah, it looks like it's 78 cents typically, and then it's going to jump to $2.40 from there. And so it is a big jump. It's just kind of how it goes. And it's, to me, and I feel like this is all the theme of every time we talk about supply chain. It's about profitability. Like, what can you afford that? Like, what makes sense? And I think every time we get the person who's like sticker shock, man, I just got this storage fee. This can't be right. And I'm like, that's right. I mean, that's just how it goes. If you have electricity and your rates change in the summer because there's more demand, yeah, you get sticker shock too, because not only is your AC running a bunch, then you're also paying the premium, for that part too. Your rate goes up accordingly, but at the same time, I don't want to sweat while I'm indoors. So yeah, I'm going to pay it. And that's the same thing as your cost per unit storage goes up. But at the same time, you want to capitalize on those sales opportunities. I think so. It's kind of that part that it's not what you want. And yes, it surprises you every time, but it's kind of that cost of doing business. So somewhat plan accordingly because you know it's coming.
Yeah. So here's what I would probably do if I were you guys out there. I'd take my item in a spreadsheet. I'm going to do my COGS, my landed COGS, right? Then I'm going to have my warehouse, maybe put in my hand, like my warehouse employees, pick packing and putting it in a pallet or however you're going to ship it, whatever that looks like. The shipping fees to Amazon. Then you're going to have your referral fee. You're going to have your FBA fee, and then you're going to have your pardon, what am I trying to say? The warehouse or the excess inventory fee potentially. You're going to be running a sale, which you should be participating in the Prime exclusive discount. So that's going to be a minimum of 20%. And then you're going to also be advertising, which is going to be anywhere between, 5% and 15%, maybe even higher if you really want to get into it. And then take that all off of your price and then check out your margin. So like those are going to be kind of your expectations there. And so like, if you kind of do all of that, and I think Brian, you can just like look it up, right? You just go into like fourth quarter fees on Amazon. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll be able to kind of see by category what that fee would be. And then from there, you'll be able to figure out if I should be actually pulling back on my sale, if I should be pushing more in. Should I pull back on advertising? Should I push up on advertising? Because the worst thing that you want to be doing is you want to be like selling all this thing and you're thinking you're going to make it rain. And then at the end of the day, you're at a negative margin and you're actually in the red. So like, you got to make sure that you're kind of on top of that stuff. So it's a pretty simple spreadsheet. Like I said, you can add as many things in there as you want. Like if you want to even add your seller account fee, like your monthly subscription, or whatever, just keep adding it per product and you'll kind of have an idea of what you're going to be making this season.
Yeah. No, I know. Again, it's a big thing that I feel like people don't take advantage of. They don't understand that's something that comes into effect at quarter four historically, probably every year. since they thought of the idea to raise storage fees. So it's something that, again, we said it once, we'll say it a million times. You got to plan ahead for. Something that you cannot just let go to the wayside.
Yeah, and I mean, and it goes without saying too, because like maybe when you do all of this stuff, maybe when you participate in this, maybe your product is in one of those niches or those, in that market that, is like a $9.99 product. Most likely not going to make a lot of money there. If you're in a like, $40, maybe $60, you're probably going to do pretty well there. Or, the products that are kind of above that, you got to, now you're talking conversions because people don't want to spend that much money on something. But like in that sweet spot, let's call it like 30 to 60, you're probably going to make money and you'll have some margin to kind of advertise and do things. But if you're in that, anywhere below $20, I would definitely do a cost analysis before you participate in any of these events.
I think it's a great way to, segue in kind of one of the last things I wanted to talk about was Prime Day and these holidays are great for getting a lot more sales volume going. Kind of like you just said there, depending on the price of your product, depending on the category that you're in, really depending on your margin, you're probably not going to make a boatload of money, which is where I think Prime Day is more for maybe getting your BSR up, maybe getting your organic ranking up. There's going to be a lot more eyes on Amazon, a lot more clicks, a lot more, general metrics are going to be all increasing. I think this is the time for you to really hone in on your SEO and see if you can't get your BSR and conversion rate and all that stuff boosted for them when you go back to a non-discounted period. People might even be buying your product more because they're saying, oh, I got a lot more, this guy has a lot more reviews than the last time I checked it out. Or just his BSR is so much better. His organic placement is so much better. So, of course, Prime Day is for how much money can you make, how profitable can you be. But I feel like that's something that doesn't get talked about a lot on some of the other Amazon people that I see talk about is not a lot talking about how much can I increase just my organic ranking or BSR on these high volume, high traffic holidays.
It's okay. So I typically I don't push on this strategy much because nobody ever does it. Everybody's scared of it. Everybody is like, no, I can't do that. But yes, that is an amazing strategy. Like if you have a new product or if you really want to take it to your competition, lose money. Like for real, like drop it 50%.
Yep.
Take the hit. You're moving your listing. Your BSR is getting better and better every time you're making conversion, right? You're going to start placing it higher in the rank. You're going to get closer to page one, even maybe the number one spot. You're going to, depending on how many products that you move during the sale, that's potentially one more review.
Yep.
One more review. And so if you have the lowest price, the most reviews on Amazon, you typically get the sale. So now what you want to do is you just want to keep pumping that, and then you can even set yourself up. You could take big deal days, do that strategy at a loss. Then hopefully within the next 30 days, you get more reviews in. Now you're in that top spot or a better spot than you were. And now you go to a 20% off for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then you start making your money like to compensate for the loss of that strategy. Now,
people are too scared.
You're right. People are too scared to do that.
Yes, it's an aggressive strategy, but so if you're in a market or like in a niche where you have like Chinese manufacturers selling similar products to you, that's what they do. So their product, they're manufacturing it themselves for $1.50. They're shipping it over. They have way less cost, because they're the manufacturer, or actually it's probably even cheaper than that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to they'll undercut everybody. And that's the strategy. And then they skyrocket up to that first spot and you're going, what happened? It's because, it's potentially that it's a loaded example because you might want to get out of that marketplace in general if that's happening.
Yeah.
But like that's a strategy that your competitors are doing. So if they're doing it, maybe you should do it. But again, definitely analyze your your cash flow and your business model and all that stuff before you go in and sell 1,000 units at a loss of $5 a unit or something.
Yeah. Something crazy. It definitely. Still, a plan ahead still applies to this strategy, I would say.
Yes.
It still
yes
matters on how you look at this, but I see that as a very good launch strategy for, like you said, for any new products, that if someone's willing to maybe have their Prime Day profits on their existing items kind of cover the cost of maybe the losing cost of selling their new product at cheap to build it up to be this, highly reviewed, better ranked product. And like I said, maybe it's because I'm not a seller, but it just seems that just has to be.
It's aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even other places do it, right? You do a promotion. It's a launch promotion. Come try our new Red Bull. Come try our new Pepsi. Oh, we're going to throw a big old party. Like I was, when I was bartending, they would always throw, like Budweiser would throw these big tent parties, and you'd come and you try their new drinks and things, and it was all free, and they had bands and things. That's the same strategy. You're eating cost,
Yep.
right, to get word of mouth or FOMO and all that good stuff. Like, so it's a similar strategy, just a different platform,
yeah,
so to speak. So, and those, I miss those. Those were a lot of fun. I got a lot of like cool like glasses and mugs and stuff.
I'll talk to Jake about that.
Or I mean, like, but even like Red Bull, right? Doesn't Red Bull do like crazy stunts? Aren't they like
ridiculous,
going to the moon and skydiving off the moon into the planet?
They're not making money off of that. They can't.
No,
they can't.
It's just all publicity, it's the same thing.
It gets them notice that, oh man, I need some wings.
Yeah.
A fun fact.
I want to be that cool.
A fun fact I learned about Red Bull was that they can say Red Bull gives you wings when it really, obviously, it doesn't make you grow wings, because the way they spell wings in their ad is with 3 I's. And so they got around that law of like kind of not false claims, I guess, but I guess there's no other way to no one else to call it. Is that they can say Red Bull gives you wings because they spell it differently than the actual wings. So that kind of gets them out of that.
So it'd be like, so when you like go on the red, you can be like, you have a competitive price spelled with 3 I's.
3 I's,
so then we don't get sued.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll make sure we put that in the description. No, but it's aggressive. You do take a little bit of a hit. That's the point. But it gets you to a place where you can start recuperating that a lot easier than if you just started out at the price that you want to come in with. So like I said, I like Prime Day. I like Prime Big Deals Day. I think it's a great way for you to kind of show off and then, like you said, also increase your ranking to the point where now following this, maybe in these off months, like early Q1, like January, February, now it's cheaper for ad placements, so you don't have to spend as much, so you can start making that money back easier, and you're already at the top of the organic search. So it just helps you to, when people are still shopping for stuff on Amazon. It's not like Amazon just goes dark on January, on January 1st.
Well,
but
let's talk about that really quick. I know I know I kind of hijacked this with like more of branding stuff instead of logistics, but we'll give it back to Brian here in a moment. But you have 4 events, right? 4 events. You have Prime Big Deal Days. You got Black Friday, Cyber Monday. You got December, and then starting December 26th to probably January 31st, you have gift card season. Okay, so everybody that got a present with a Amazon gift card, now they're coming. They're frothing at the mouth. They're like, ooh, money. And so they're going to start buying all of the stuff. So you need to have a strategy for each one of those events, and you have to have inventory for those. And again, January 29th is when the Chinese New Year hits. If you don't get your production order in, you're boned. So get that manufacturing production order in before January 29th. And it's usually first come, first serve. But sometimes if you have a really good relationship with your factory or your manufacturer, you might get bumped a little bit, but get them in as soon as you possibly can. And then you also have other tools on Amazon too to capture that. So like brand tailored promotions can also capture abandoned cart, abandoned cart people. So you could kind of pepper those throughout. So if you're going to be aggressive like that, if you're going to do a 20% or a 30% or 40% off discount, and then you're going to pepper in other promotions throughout the time, plus you're going to, participate in Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then maybe you do a coupon, or you're starting to ramp up. Like, some people like to do like the 12 days before Christmas kind of sales events.
Yeah.
If you're going to be doing all that stuff, you need to talk to my man over here, Brian.
Yes.
He will help you out with all that inventory. And just like you said, get your whole team, get your marketing team, your logistics teams, your brand team. Everybody needs to come together and be like, what are we doing? What's our plan? What's our projections? And now here is my projected inventory. and then you can start ordering and shipping from there.
There you go.
And my other gotcha is Chinese New Year, because you got to start planning for that in October, and people are they're like hitting the heavy season of sales. You got all that going on, and you've already got to have your projections for that next year, because what happens is people are in the midst of that, and then they start thinking, oh no, here comes Chinese New Year, and it never fails that every time as those suppliers are approaching Chinese New Year's, it's like people just don't show up to work. Like they just are like, I'm out. And, the production will just slow down. And then the same with shipping there's been guys who are at the finish line and they can't get a truck to pick up their order because those guys have stopped. They're already celebrating type of thing. Maybe they're a little too intoxicated to run the truck, but at the same time, it's always that plan ahead, and then having those rhythms and those schedules in place so that you're prepared. So in the midst of the chaos of sales are coming, we got these, holidays coming up type of thing, you're already looking at the next thing. And that's kind of the beauty of, team environments, is having those who are looking ahead that know that's coming, and they're already asking the questions and putting together the details of it, because it is just a never fail to forget about Chinese New Year, or they're all of a sudden, it's great. Those Chinese suppliers are like, oh yeah, we'll get that out before Chinese New Year. They never do. And so it just gets people every time that it happens. And I have been a victim of this too. And I thought I had planned ahead, but I didn't plan ahead enough. And so you just learn, and you learn next year what you've got to do, and you've got to make your schedule and, set your reminders or notes or whatever that looks like, because you just got to develop that rhythm so that it doesn't sneak up on you and you already know it's coming and you're planned.
There you have it, folks. You're hearing it from an experienced, again, not only just a logistics person, but someone that has actually literally dealt with these issues. So.
Oh yeah.
Real quick. If we nail it, Brian, we just nailed it. When would I put my order in for next year? Like we were ready for October Prime Day. We have enough inventory for Black Friday. No problems. It's just like the perfect flawless. We had the inventory. When should I be ordering? Like November? What do you think?
From the supplier or to
production? Like production before to get ahead, like, because it gets busy. Like I'm guessing a lot of people start putting their orders in December, maybe even beginning of January. And then, like I said, get to the back of the list. What is a good time to start ordering?
It depends on your lead time for your products, but it's always, November, and it's, considering it maybe 30 days for production, but you've got to even factor in is that it's got to be loaded on a boat, like those types of things. So it's really, you kind of got to look at all encompassing, and are you doing air freight? I talked with someone and they're like, nope, we do everything air freight. It's the same cost. And I was like, you're my favorite person, because that just expedited things significantly as opposed to putting it in a container. And so, you got to know your suppliers' rhythms too, and that there's a lot of margin that they'll have within there. One supplier's 30 days is not another supplier's 30 days. It's almost like a standard answer. But yeah, it's almost, you want to give enough lead time for production, and then a couple weeks for it to be at the, ready to be loaded, and then, a couple more weeks just to make sure that everything clears so that it is on the ship, Chinese New Year's, like, approaching quickly type of thing. And so, that's just a tough one, as far as you got to know your product, and, depending on how many different, options you have in that's going to change your lead time and changeovers and things like that too. So yeah, that's a big non-answer for your question. So
I know that I have a follow-up too. Like what happened, like if I can't make it before Chinese New Year, what does that look like? Am I usually 2 months out? It's usually about 60 days out before I'm seeing any movement.
I would think probably not 60, but more like 30, because there's going to be 2 weeks, and then there's going to be the slow startup. How all manufacturing is in the States, slow down for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and everyone takes vacation. So now you're short operators and things like that. And so, but I mean, I would think 30 days and it's just tough because you'll have people that are just really stretchy trying to make it and they're going to miss it. Like, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's just as simple as, again, Eric,
Always plan ahead.
always plan ahead.
Always play.
I'm going to count that as your final thought for now. No.
It's actually on my LinkedIn banner.
No, it's not.
I've had that for years. 100%. No joke. It's my
Like
mantra,
your
baby.
background?
Yeah, my banner. Check it. You fact checking me right
I'm
now?
fact checking you right now.
I'm not
I believe
even.
it.
I'm
I
not.
just wanna
I'm
see- I
not
wanna
trying
see
to.
it for
I'm
myself.
not uploading it right now, just so everybody can see.
There's
no
no
hands.
way. There's no way. Always remember to plan ahead. And I see that's funny because it's spelled out across the banner and the D
Yep.
doesn't fit. So you should have planned ahead to measure how big the letters would
Exactly.
be. I see. I like it. I like it a lot. I believed you. Like I said, I just wanted to see it
Yeah,
with my own eyes.
it is. It is going to be
Wow.
like that and communication. Those two
It
things
is.
are going to be the secret to your success, no matter what it is, professionally, personally. If you got your girlfriend, your wife, your kids, your brother, your cousin. Now, if you just plan ahead, communicate, you don't have to buy your uncle a 4-pack of hot sauce because now you'll actually know what they want as a
Yes.
present, and you'll actually make a new friend by talking to your uncle.
There you go.
And that's my final thought.
There it is. Brian, any final thoughts on just the whole logistics supply chain? Just the idea of being prepared for Q4 and a little bit into Q1, the holiday season, really.
And mine, Eric's other point is communicate, because I think too often logistics or inventory or forecasting just gets done in a vacuum, and that person crunching numbers and making sheets and all of that, and those are all great things. I am a man of the data. What is the data telling you type of approach, but you don't know what sales is thinking. You don't know what advertising is thinking, that maybe they're going to up things. And so it's really about communicating with your extended team to understand where is everybody at? What are they thinking? So really the output is as best as it can be beyond crunching the numbers and your Excel formulas and things like that. It's about the team bought in, and we're all, virtual handshakes or real handshakes, whatever it looks like, saying this is what we're going to do, and we're all bought in. And it just helps to eliminate finger pointing, and been down that road where all of a sudden people are pointing at you. And I mean, I did the best I can, but at the same time, I probably didn't communicate and bring people in. I expected them to come to me instead of going to them.
There it is, folks. Write that down, put it on a pillow, get it on Amazon. We are trademarking all of that, though, so careful. But yeah, gentlemen, I want to thank you again both for having another amazing episode, for coming on and just talking to us about, again, how to prep for Q4. For those watching, you still have time. There's plenty of time for you to start implementing a lot of our ideas here. And of course, if you need help, you can find us at velocitysellers.com. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure to check us out on all of the places, the other platforms that you get your podcasts, like Spotify or Apple Music. I'm personally a Spotify guy, so check us out on there before you check us out on Apple Music, or also Amazon Podcasts. Really, anywhere you find your podcast, we are live on there now. So thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you next week, and I'm Velocity Pete.